that last one 100 wow, 151. Hey guys, Ben here. So this is going to be an overview of my Ethereal Fortress. I hope you enjoy the video. There's a lot to go over, so buckle in. One thing I forgot to mention in the overview part of this though is that it is running off of a 2S graphene LiPo that is 1 amp, 1000 milliamps, same thing. It has discharge rating of 65C and 130C burst. First we'll hit the chrono readings and then the overview. Wow, is that last one 151. High of 151, low of 117, average of 136, deviation of 34. So this is Ethereal Fortress. I'm absolutely in love with this blaster. As you can see, it has a full LED wire up, and there are, I believe, 17 white LEDs inside of here. I have 22 gauge white wire, and you can kind of see that right there. It's a bit of a pain in the neck because it's not color coordinated. White for both positive and negative, so I had to kind of keep track of that, but I like the look of the white wires a little bit better than trying to color code them and then having wires sticking out. I have crystal clear parts. I apologize, I do not sell these in crystal clear. Really the only difference is when the LEDs are off, it is pure white as opposed to slightly yellowed. Those are the ones that I sell. And it's just a lot harder to cast these, but I have the luxury of doing it myself. I have my flared magwell integrated into this, as well as my windowed XP180 cover. I also have some thumb screws, and these are just ones off of eBay because I didn't feel like spending $6 on two of the worker ones, and not to mention these are silver, which goes better with the blaster. This momentary push button switch actually controls the voltmeter up here, and that is on an aluminum plate. And right next to that, you can see a little tiny switch there, and that just controls all of the LEDs. The LEDs are running off of stock alkaline batteries in the strife compartment. The paint is a Rust-Oleum gray primer and a Rust-Oleum white. Also, all of these silver detailing, it's just a silver paint pen. The clear coat is a high gloss 2K clear coat, and it actually came out pretty well, considering it was my first time doing that kind of clear coat. My pride of the clear coat is that I actually showed Tom from Foam Data Services, and he said, "That's pretty good, I only see one flaw." And so for me, that's like the highest compliment that I could ever get in a clear coat. So going over the internals, I have 16 gauge silicone wire, and all of that is individually braided with some cable braiding. It's just something I threw in there that's a little bit extra, and that is all with 3:1 marine grade adhesive lined shrink tubing. The motors I'm using are XP180s, and that is a Dr. Snicka's second generation flywheel cage, and that is number 17. Don't know if you can see that in there. I actually modified the Dr. Snicka's cage just a little bit and put an aluminum shroud over the brass because I didn't like the color of the brass. For the Rev Trigger, I'm using an Omron V212 1C6. Basically a 21 amp Omron switch, but I knew someone was going to ask for the model number. As you can see, it's still the 3:1 adhesive shrink tubing, and you also got individually braided cables, and that is also an official Turnigy connector, but instead of yellow, it's black, which I thought was kind of cool that I found a black one. It's worth noting, even though it's covered up by the mesh, all of my wires are color-coded properly, so you have black for the negative, red for the positive, and then if you look in the motor cover, you can see the blue for the switch. I didn't really want to put anything cheap in here. As a matter of fact, I wasn't really too happy with putting this micro switch here for the LEDs because this is just a cheap one I got off of Amazon. It was like $10 for 50 of them or something, and I wasn't actually too happy about that, simply because I didn't want to put anything cheap into this blaster, but that's pretty much the only compromise I have in this entire thing. Even this momentary switch on the side is a $5 switch from Mouser, which I know is excessive, but it is actually a really nice switch, and I use this one quite a bit. The LED switch doesn't feel bad, but I would have liked something with a little more positive click to it. I think I'm being pretty picky there, but I have to be picky about my own work. So, other things worth mentioning, this aluminum plate up here, I actually cut out of 1/8 inch aluminum. That's 6061, just a stock blank of aluminum. And then I cut it and hand filed it to shape. The bolts there are actually drilled and tapped into a 3/8 inch piece of polycarbonate that is anchored to this side of the blaster. Another note, I actually added a second spring to the trigger right here, right where the strife has a second place for a spring. They didn't really add it, which is kind of weird, but it's there, and so I just found a spring and popped it in there, and it just gives it a little bit more of a positive feel. By the way, this top part, clearly my favorite. I think that's pretty much it. If you have any questions, or if you think I left anything out, please let me know, and I will try to answer that as best as I can. But until then, thanks for watching.